The CEOs of Apple, Twitter, and Virgin have all made headlines as of late. What leadership skills have they shown us during recent events? The Dean of Duke's Business School, Dr. Bill Boulding, joins me now. Nice to see you here in New York.
Great to be here.
Well, let's start with Apple. We know Tim Cook recently took to the stage with the big Worldwide Developers Conference. What is it about Tim Cook that has made him very successful running Apple after following really an icon, Steve Jobs?
I think the big thing about Tim is he is so authentic. He does not try to be Steve Jobs. He absolutely adored Steve Jobs, but he was told by Steve, be yourself. And Tim has done that so effectively. What Tim believes in so deeply is that collaboration is the key to innovation. And he has built an organization that is unbelievably collaborative and as a consequence also unbelievably innovative.
What was it? What was the one example of leadership that enabled him to win the confidence of Apple investors, Apple users, and Apple employees?
Well, I think he had the confidence of the Apple employees because he had been running the show when Steve Jobs had to step out of the role at various times. And so people had the confidence within Apple. The people in terms of the investor community, I think there the success was that Tim understood he had to produce products. He had to show the innovation. So he had to bring to life this idea that you could bring an organization together, that you could bring software services, the user experience together in a way to create astonishing value. And he's done that successfully. The stock price has gone up and now he's a hero.
Let's move on to Twitter, a little bit of a different story there. What does it say about Dick Costolo and his leadership style now that he's stepping down as CEO?
Yeah, I think that it's a great example of something that I think is very, very important in all leaders, which is this level of humility and a recognition that leadership is not about self-interest and selfishness, but rather it's about making people around you successful and making sure that the organization thrives. I think that his view was the best thing for the organization was to step down. And he's made some comments like the people say that it's not like I'm dying. He's not going away, he'll stay on the board, but he views that in order to unlock the value at Twitter, that you can bring in a new leader into that role. And I think that it shows his humility and his ability to put the success of the organization ahead of his own self-interest, that he's willing to take such a step.
Another interesting story lately is what happened at Virgin, and that is the very flamboyant Richard Branson came out and said he would offer up to a year of paid paternity leave for some employees, which is something very unheard of course, in the U.S. Does that show forward-thinking leadership?
I think it does. It's a combination of things. That first of all, he is an extraordinary leader in terms of his brand is so deeply connected to the Virgin brand, and so he's very, very good at promoting that brand and getting attention through the things that he does. In this particular instance, what he has done is he's recognized that family leave is something that we shouldn't think of as being gender specific, that we should think of this as something that recognizes we have to support families, we have to support the ability of both men and women to participate in the workforce, but also to participate in family life. And so he has gotten an enormous amount of publicity in doing this. It's probably an experiment on his part because it's not across the board within his company. And so I think he's doing something that's really exciting to see and is generating a lot of publicity as well.
How would you rate our current crop of leaders in publicly traded CEOs right now?
I am actually really optimistic about business leadership, which is in stark contrast to the data that we can see. There are a variety of people who collect data on the level of respect and trust that the general public has in business leaders and in CEOs. And some of that is quite scary. So for example, the Edelman Trust Barometer, they have data that suggests that 4 out of 5 people believe that if a business leader is confronted with a difficult situation, that they're not sure they're going to behave in an ethical manner. That's very scary. At the same time, there's a perception index around business leadership, collected by Burson Marsteller, and they've found that if you ask people what do CEOs care about, the number one thing they care about is compensation, at a much greater rate than anything else on the list, such as creating customer value, creating an environment that makes the world a better place, and so on. And so the general public clearly believes that there are issues with business leadership, and that's not the world that I live in, the CEOs that I know, and people like a Tim Cook, who, in my view, really do care about making a difference in the world. They care about creating the goods and the services and solving the challenges that will improve the human condition. And so some people say that I may be a little bit of a Pollyannish type of person, but I think that we're seeing that the successful model in business is the model where the CEOs, the business leaders, support the ambitions of others, that they create an organization where they themselves are authentic, that they draw out the authenticity from others, and they embrace the idea that the way they're going to drive innovation and create value is by embracing people who are different from themselves. And so that's what I see as the winning model today. And in the business world, it's highly competitive, and winning models will take over. And so I'm optimistic.
Dr. Bill Bolling, great to have you here. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for The Street.